know the name George Russell, Formula One race winner, pole-sitter, Mercedes driver, one of the most technically precise racers of his generation. But long before George Russell was shaking hands with team principals and standing on podiums, there was another Russell who carried the family's racing dream, a driver whose name never appeared on an F1 timing screen, a racer whose talent never failed him but whose opportunity did. His name was Benjy Russell, and for a brief blazing window in British karting he was the fastest Russell of them all. Two brothers, one obsession. The Russell household didn't revolve around motorsport, it ran on it. Weekends meant freezing mornings at kart tracks, the smell of fuel in the air, engine screaming long before sunset. For the Russell brothers, racing wasn't a hobby, it was identity. Benjy, the older brother, was the pioneer. He was the one who showed early signs of something special, aggressive but controlled, confident in traffic, comfortable on the limit. While other kids learned lines, Benjy attacked corners like he already knew where the grip would be. George followed in his shadow, watching, learning, absorbing. By the time both brothers were competing seriously, it was Benjy who stood out. On track, he wasn't just quick, he was decisive. He raced with instinct, not hesitation. And most tellingly, he beat drivers who would later become household names. On British karting grids, Benjy Russell regularly ran wheel-to-wheel with future Formula One stars.
He regularly beat and outperformed drivers who would later go on to become major stars in the world of motorsport.
And more often than not, Benjy finished ahead. At that stage, the future looked obvious. He was destined for single-seaters. The ladder seemed clear. Then motorsport reality arrived. Talent isn't the currency. Karting is expensive, but compared to what comes next, it's almost merciful. The jump to car racing is where dreams begin to bleed money. Formula Ford, Formula Renault, Formula 3. Each step isn't just a test of ability, it's a financial cliff. By the time a driver reaches the level where scouts truly pay attention, a single season can cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. The best teams, 7 figures per year. The Russell family wasn't poor, but they weren't limitless. They backed Benjy as long as they could. He raced where budgets allowed, lower tier series, smaller teams, honest machinery. But here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. In modern motorsport, talent does not open doors, money does. The seats that matter, the ones with factory backing, elite engineering and guaranteed visibility, were locked behind price tags the Russells simply could not reach. Benjy didn't lose speed, he didn't lose focus, he lost access. When the door closes, this is where most racing stories quietly end. Benjy's career didn't collapse in a fiery crash or dramatic controversy, it faded in silence. No big farewell, no final chance, just a slow realization that the ladder had ended beneath his feet. At the exact moment Benjy's progress stalled, something else happened. The family's focus shifted. All the experience, all the lessons, all the sacrifices already made suddenly funneled toward the younger brother, George Russell. Timing is everything. George had the same work ethic, the same hunger, the same technical mindset, but he had something Benjy never did. Timing. George reached the critical junior categories just as manufacturer-backed academies became the dominant path to Formula One. Scholarships, structured programs, corporate pipelines designed to protect talent from financial ruin. And then came the moment that changed everything. George Russell was signed to the Mercedes junior team. Overnight, the equation changed. The financial burden vanished. The best seats became guaranteed. Development became systematic. Performance was now supported by infrastructure Benjy never had access to. For George, talent met opportunity. For Benjy, talent had already met its limit, the ghost in the timeline. If you map the brothers' careers on a timeline, the contrast is haunting. As Benjy steps away, George accelerates. As Benjy's name disappears from entry lists, George's appears on international grids. As Benjy builds a life outside racing, George climbs toward Formula One. And yet behind the scenes, the relationship never fractured. There was no bitterness, no resentment, no public regret. Benjy became George's sounding board, his quiet advisor, the one who had already lived the pressure and learned the lessons early. The fastest Russell didn't vanish. He evolved, a different kind of victory. Today, Benjy Russell lives far from the glare that once defined his world. There are no cameras tracking his movements, no engineers dissecting his data, no contracts hanging on a single mistake. He has a family now, a career, a rhythm of life that isn't measured in tenths of a second. The relentless pressure of proving himself again and again has faded into memory. Yet motorsport never fully leaves you. Benjy still attends races, but not as a competitor chasing a seat. He stands trackside as support, as presence, as quiet reassurance. When George succeeds, Benjy is there, not as a shadow living through someone else's achievement, but as a foundation that helped make it possible. The kind that never demands credit, the kind history rarely notices. Motorsport mythology is built on champions, on winners, on names engraved into trophies and record books. But beneath that polished surface exists another, less comfortable truth. For every driver who made it, there are dozens who were just as fast, just as brave, just as technically gifted. Careers that ended not because of lack of talent, but lack of funding, lack of timing, lack of the one opportunity that changes everything. Those drivers don't disappear because they failed. They disappear because the system is unforgiving. Benjy Russell is one of those forgotten figures, one of motorsport's quiet ghosts. Not a tragedy, not a warning, not a story of what not to do, but a reminder. A reminder that elite talent alone is never enough. That survival in racing is as much about circumstance as skill, and that behind every celebrated success, there are unseen careers that helped shape it, then stepped away, unnoticed, but essential all the same. What this story really tells us. The difference between a Formula One driver and a forgotten prodigy is rarely a tenth of a second. It's a bank account, it's timing, it's whether someone opens a door before the ladder disappears. George Russell didn't steal his future, he inherited a sacrifice. And Benjy Russell didn't lose his dream, he gave it forward. The fastest racer in the Russell family may never have reached Formula One, but his fingerprints are on every lap George Russell drives today. Some legacies are written in trophies, others are written in what's given up so someone else can succeed. Benjy Russell is Formula One's ghost brother, and his story is everywhere. Motorsport history loves clean narratives, but the truth is messier and far more human. Behind every driver who reaches Formula One, there are countless others who were just as fast, just as gifted, and just as driven, yet ran out of runway. Talent alone has never been the currency of this sport. It demands money at the worst possible moments, luck when it matters most, and belief from people who may never see a return. Benjy Russell understood that reality long before the world learned George's name. He saw the ceiling closing in and chose to step aside rather than let both dreams collapse together. That choice didn't make headlines, but it reshaped a future. Every junior title, every contract extension, every Sunday on the grid carries the weight of that unseen decision. George races not just with his own ambition, but with borrowed momentum, fueled by someone else's restraint. This is how motorsport truly works. Progress built on compromise, success resting on invisible hands. Some careers end with checkered flags, others end so that one can still be waved. And in that quiet exchange, where one path narrows so another can stay open, legacy is born. And that is why the sport's mythology often feels incomplete. We celebrate the ones who arrive, but rarely trace the roads that were closed so they could pass through. For every driver lifting a trophy, there is a sibling, a parent, or a mentor absorbing the risk and the disappointment. Benjy's absence from the grid is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of choice. He understood that dreams do not always die. Sometimes they change hosts. The paddock is full of stories like his, but few are as cleanly written into another career. When George speaks about resilience, discipline, and perspective, those values did not come from simulators or data engineers. They were forged at kitchen tables, in long drives home from circuits, in conversations about what had to be let go. This is the inheritance that doesn't show up in lap times. It appears in patience under pressure, in belief during lean years, in the refusal to quit when the door finally opens. Formula One crowns drivers, but it is sustained by families willing to carry the cost. Benjy Russell never stood on the world's biggest stage, yet his presence has never left it. He is there in every calculated overtake, every calm radio message, every moment George races like someone who knows exactly how fragile opportunity really is, if you know where to look. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content. Thank you. For more content Decoded, hit that subscribe button.